yellowy brown. Once upon a time, and a very good time it was, though it wasn't in my mother's time, nor in mine, nor in your time, nor in anyone else's time, there was a young farm boy of 18 named Tom, hardly working on a broad, wide farm. You see, young Tom was as lazy as they come and never turned his hand to a day's work if he could avoid it. One fine June day, skiving off work, he was walking across the west field and decided to turn into the fairy woods. Now, Tom had been warned about the fairy woods since he was a bairn. No one, not even a little child, would dare enter the woods alone, and especially not so close to Midsummer's Day when the magic of the Fae was at its peak. But the day was warm and still, and Tom was all sleepy with sunshine, and after all, no one sensible believed in fairies any more. And even if they were real, they could hardly begrudge old Tom a peaceful nap. The air was full of little sounds, as though the trees and grass were gossiping amongst themselves. As he walked, he noticed a sound growing louder and louder, a sort of pitiful sobbing, like a bairn spent with fear, breaking off into a moan and then rising again in a long, whimpering wail that made him feel sick to hear it. He began to look everywhere for the poor creature that was making such a terrible racket, but though he looked and looked and looked, he could find nothing. The whimpering got louder and stronger in the quietness, and Tom listened with all his might. He thought he could make out words, all mixed up with the sobbing, "Oh, the nasty stone, the great big stone, the stone's on top, it's so heavy." Naturally, he wondered where the stone might be, and he looked again, and there, at the roots of a gnarled old rowan tree, was a great flat stone half buried in the mools and moss, tangled in the cotted grass and weeds. Down he fell on his knees by that stone and hearkened again. Clearer than ever, but tired and spent with crying, came the little sobbing voice, "Oh, woe." This stone, the stone on top Tom was wary and misliking to meddle with the thing, but he couldn't stand to hear the whimpering, so like a baby, and he tore like mad at the stone till he felt it lifting from the mools and moss. All at once it came out with a swoosh from the damp earth and the tangled grass and growing things, and there in the hole lay a tiddy little thing on its back, blinking up at the sun and at him. It was no bigger than a year-old baby, but it had long, cotted hair and beard twisted round and round its body so that you couldn't see its clothes, and the hair was all yellow and shining and silky, like a bairn's, but the face of it was old and wrinkled, as if it had been hundreds of years since it was young and smooth, just a heap of wrinkles and two bright black eyes in the midst, set in a lot of shining yellow hair. And the skin was the colour of the fresh turned earth in the spring, brown as brown could be, and its bare hands and feet were brown like the face of it. The crying had stopped, but the tears were standing on its cheeks, and the tiddy weird thing looked all bemused in the sunshine and warm air. The creature looked up in Tom's face as bold as ever was. Tom, says he, thou art a good lad, as cool as you can think. Says he, Tom, thou art a good lad. And his voice was soft and high and piping, like a little bird twittering. Tom shrank back. How do you know my name? He asked. Oh, says the thing, there needn't be afeard of me. Thou'st done me better than I deserve, and I'll do as much for thee. This must be a bogle, thought Tom in the silence of his mind, shrinking back in fear. No, says he, as quick, a bogle I am not. It's been many a long, old, tiresome day since they stuck me in the grot, but ye'd best not ask me what I'd be. Let bogles be forgot. I'll anyhow befriend thee, the best one that you've got. Poor Tom's legs went all a-quiver. His knees started to shake, for what could know his very thoughts before he'd spoken them aloud. But he thought all was not lost. To keep a fairy tame, one must only know its true name. If he could find its name, perhaps he could still escape. It said, pulling its beard, as for that, I sew. Gallery Brown, lads, call me by the name by which I go. Gallery Brown it is, my name, and as a name, not bad. Gallery Brown, Tom. Gallery Brown's a friend to thee. Lads, poor Tom's face went pale as pale. Gallery Brown smiled. To show you my deepest gratitude, I shall help thee. That's mighty kind of you, said Tom, though terror held him stuck. So what'll it be? Asked Gallery Brown. A wife and wealth and child. I'll give you gold, or plenty enough to fill a sack. You'll barely walk a mile or two with that upon your back now. These things tempted our young Tom, and nigh chased the fear right out of his head. But Tom, an idle coward was, and knew that even such fine-sounding gifts could become a penance. Gallery Brown, that all sounds very well, but I don't want any of that. My gold they'll rob, my wife will sob, it sounds too much like work, but he said, a keen glint coming into his lazy blue eye, if you could do my work for me, that I would be grateful for, and thank you kindly too. Stop, snapped Gallery, quick as lightning. I'll help thee as much as welcome. But if ever thou sayest that to me, if ever thou thankest me, thou'll never see me more. Mind that now, I want no thanks, I'll have no thanks, and he stamped his tiddy foot on the earth, and looked as wicked as a raging bull. Mind that now, great lump that thou be, he went on, calming down a bit, and if ever thou needs help or gets into trouble, call on me, and just say, Gallery Brown, come from the mools, I want thee, and I'll be with you at once. And now, says he, picking a dandelion puff. Good night to thee, and he blowed it up, and it all came into Tom's eye and ears. As soon as Tom could see again, the tiddy creature was gone, and but for the stone on end and the hole at his feet, he'd have thought he'd been dreaming.